lots of people have never been any further north than Perth and see Perth almost as the Highlands. But that was kind of what I was wanting to touch on, was the fact that we are so far away even from Edinburgh. Do you feel that this area gets a fair deal in terms of politics generally? Is enough attention paid to it?
I don't think Inverness does, and I don't think the Highlands this end get enough of a good deal. And the reason is that, of course, it is completely transformed. In the last decade, this place has totally boomed. People talk about Aberdeen, and that's all very sort of oily and the rest of it. What's interesting here is it seems to be a very, very diverse boom in which all sorts of small industries, medium-sized, quite big industries have opened up, Highland activity, and I think the media doesn't know.
Right.
I think the media doesn't know, and I'm going to try and tell them.
Well, that's good. That's greatly appreciated. But why do you think that is then, that there's been that boom? What do you think's behind it?
Well, I think connectivity is the key. I think the birth of the internet, the fact that you can do so much business without actually having to drive all those miles or get on the night train.
Yeah.
And connectivity that's also been matched by the air link. And I think the air links effectively with Europe are one change and you're there. But obviously with London, with Glasgow, with Edinburgh, I think has completely transformed this place. So you have these two things coming together, a vast increase in transport potential and the internet.
And what do you think needs to be done to sustain that level of activity?
Well, I can see people putting up bits and pieces around the airport. They're going to have to really expand the airport, although it's a lovely service, no question. I guess they might have to do a bit of stuff on the roads as well. I mean, the road from the airport was very busy. You know, I mean, if you have 2 or 3 flights in at once, you know, we may need to sort of widen the road a bit. Although we took a back road and there was even a queue on that.
Yeah, you find even the shortcuts tend to get a little snarled
But
up.
what else? I think the biggest thing that needs to be done is, in fact, to showcase the city and the region around it. I mean, it just isn't the talk of the town, and it should be. You know, we all know about Edinburgh. We all know about Glasgow. We're told that Scotland's a jolly beautiful place, and that's about where it stops. And we know about Aberdeen because obviously of the oil boom and indeed its retreat. But the beauty of this boom is that it has no oily base.
Do you think then that part of its difficulty is that there aren't too many bad news stories, and the media do tend to focus? It tends to be much more level here?
I'm afraid we have not got any much bad news in Inverness, and consequently the draw to the media, which always, I think the media works around trying to tell people how they could be worse off than they are. You know, it could have happened to you, you know. Well, I'm sorry, but Inverness is really a good news story. But it's a good story, and it would make good documentaries, no question. The transformation, amazing.
Right. So can we expect to see you up doing a documentary?
Well, I am now prejudiced towards coming up here and generally coming north of where we used to stop, which I'm glad to say wasn't Perth, but was definitely Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Yeah. And that was as far as you...
That was as far as the mainstream media rooted in London really thought Scotland went. The rest was people in kilts, the odd shaggy-looking cow, and, you know, some settlements.